Artificial intelligence is pretty much everywhere these days, right? It's shaping everything from the jobs you see online to maybe even your medical advice. But what happens when these incredibly powerful tools start learning our worst habits? Today, we're going to dive deep into the huge challenge of AI bias. In this explainer, we'll break down exactly how it seeps in and, more importantly, how we can get it out.
Okay, so let's just start with a number. 37%. Just let that number sit there for a second. What on earth could that represent in the world of AI?
So, remember that 37%? Well, that's how much more stereotypical language a recent case study found in job descriptions written by GPT-4o compared to ones written by actual human recruiters. It shows that when we ask an AI to do something like hiring, it doesn't just copy our biases, it can actually make them worse.
And when you dig into the details, it gets even more worrying. I mean, look at this. The study found gender bias in a staggering 82% of technical rules. Almost half of customer-facing rules had what's called racial coding, that subtle language that connects a job to a specific race. And the real-world impact of all this? It could slash applications from diverse candidates by 15 to 20%. So yeah, this isn't just a tech issue. It has very real consequences for people.
So how does this even happen? It's not like the AI is malicious. It's really just a reflection of us. These models learn from this enormous ocean of text we've put on the internet. And in doing that, they soak up every single stereotype, every historical inequality that's buried in our own writing.
And this quote just gets right to the heart of the problem. Bob Slavic from Virtualization Options LLC absolutely nails it here. We're not just fighting against the obvious hateful stuff. The real danger is how the AI's learning process can take these subtle, almost invisible patterns in the data and just blow them up into major harmful stereotypes.
Okay, so how in the world do we fix it? Well, the first line of defense is all about being proactive. It's about stopping the bias from even getting into the model in the first place by being really careful about the data it learns from. It's kind of like building a house, right? You've got to start with a clean, solid foundation.
And this is done through something called pre-processing. It starts with developers scanning these gigantic data sets to automatically flag biased content. Then, actual human reviewers step in to evaluate what the machine found. After that, they use balanced sampling to make sure all kinds of different groups are represented fairly. And this last step is so important. They actually add counter-stereotypical examples, things like female CEOs, male nurses, to actively teach the model a much more equitable view of the world.
All right, we're going to get a tiny bit technical here, but stick with me because this is fascinating. Inside a huge AI model, you have these things called attention heads. You can think of them like thousands of mini-brains, and each one is focused on learning the relationships between different words. Well, some groundbreaking research from Dartmouth College found that bias isn't spread out evenly through the whole AI. Nope, it's actually concentrated in a handful of these specific attention heads.
So that led to a wild idea. What if you could just surgically remove them? That's exactly what they did, in a process they call model pruning. And the results? They're incredible. Look at this. They cut down gender bias by 92% and only lost 3% of the model's overall performance. For racial bias, they got an 87% reduction for a tiny 1% performance hit. This is huge. It shows we can literally perform surgery on the model to remove bias without breaking the whole thing.
But okay, what happens if some bias still slips through? Or what if you're using a model where you can't just go in and start removing parts? That's where the next big strategy comes in. Putting up reactive safeguards to monitor and correct the AI after it's already live.
Think of this as a real-time guardrail system. As the AI is creating a response, that text is immediately scanned for any bias content. Then it gets a risk score. And based on that score, the system can jump in. It might block the response entirely, tweak it a little, or just flag it. And in some systems, it can even tell the AI, hey, try that again, but this time with less bias.
All this brings up a really important question. Whose job is it to fix this? Is it the people who build the AI or the companies that actually use it? And the answer seems to be, it's both. It's a shared responsibility. The developers have to build in these safety features and be honest about their model's limits. But the companies using the AI for hiring or whatever else, they have to test it in their specific situation and keep a close eye on how it's behaving in the real world.
Now, just when it feels like we're getting a good handle on this, a major curveball comes our way. And the big twist in this whole story is context. It turns out that bias isn't some fixed thing you can just measure once and be done with.
A landmark study from Stanford Law School uncovered something pretty startling. They took the exact same AI models and tested them in different scenarios, and guess what? The bias levels changed dramatically. For instance, a model might show very little gender bias when it's recommending commercial products, but then show huge bias when it's evaluating loan applications. The same AI acts differently depending on the job you give it. That makes a one-size-fits-all fix almost impossible.
And this quote from that Stanford study really just sums it all up, doesn't it? The goal can't just be to create a non-biased AI in a lab somewhere. The real, ongoing fight is to understand and adapt to the unique ways bias pops up in every single different area where we use these tools.
So, after all that, where do we stand? Let's pull everything together and look at the key takeaways on the path to building AI that's actually fair.
It's pretty clear that the best way forward is a multi-layered defense. You need that pre-processing to clean the data before you even start. You need fine-tuning while the model is training. You need that surgical pruning to remove specific problem areas. And then you need those post-processing guardrails to catch anything that still slips through. No single one of these is a silver bullet. They all have to work together.
But let's be real, the work is far from over. We are still wrestling with some massive challenges. That whole context problem means we have to be constantly watching. The fact that many of the most powerful AIs are black boxes owned by private companies makes them incredibly hard for outside researchers to fix. There's always this delicate balance between fairness and performance. And maybe the biggest problem of all, as a society, we still haven't really agreed on what fair actually means. And that really leaves us with one final, and I think really provocative question. As we build these tools that are getting more and more powerful, what's our ultimate goal here? Are we trying to build an AI that's a perfect mirror of our world, with all of its flaws and inequalities included? Or should we be trying to build an AI that reflects our aspirations, an AI that could actually help us create a world that's a little bit fairer than the one we have today? That's something to think about.